Morning, my name is Meng Yan. I teach Chinese here at our center. So my topic is developing critical thinking through social linguistic analysis of authentic material. What is it? In K-12 or college level, we emphasize this a lot. We have to develop students' critical thinking. So what is critical thinking? The basically is how do you process the information given to you, right? You analyze it, you evaluate it, you synthesize it, you unpack it, right? Now, how do we develop students' critical thinking in language courses? Probably in more advanced level, it's not such a daunting task. You know, they have certain language level, they can listen to news, they can listen to some interviews and able to discuss, have their opinions. What about beginning students or intermediate students? How should we develop their critical thinking in our classes? Can we also guide our students to look at the language, different perspective through a sociolinguistic analysis way to look at the language data? So what I meant here, sociolinguistic analysis, is really just guide them to look at how language is used in social and cultural context and give them ideas to compare their own language and the target language they are learning. Okay. So in Chinese class, we don't want to say, how do we celebrate Chinese New Year's? How do we cook Chinese food, right? We want to see how people use the words and sentence and interaction to convey meanings. So this is I want to show today is I want to guide students see the language used in context, how they reflect cultural value and social norms. Now, if we want to do this, we all know by now, textbook cannot provide us. So we need to collect some data, think activities, get students to look at that. So natural conversation interview is what I'm going to use to help students to see, to analyze all this data. So I will say several lesson samples, okay, and I will show you how I get the data. So word association, this actually is idea from a French teacher, Furstenberg, and MIT. She has this project called Cultura project, but she used more for online discussion, and I modified it for a speaking activity. So what does that mean? For example, if I show you this word, policeman, what do you think about? What other words you associate with policeman? What? Problems. Right now, because of all the news, right? Any other things?
Danger. Order.
Older policeman, now it's danger. Older. Huh? Uniforms. Yeah, safety, right? So you have this older, yes. So it depends on people, person, right? You have older, you have safety. But you put this, you ask people in Chicago south side, right? Yeah. Will be danger, will be problem. Yeah. So you see, one word is not just the semantic meaning. Depends on in the context, and they have a lot of social meaning and connotation there. So this is one example. Social welfare in the States, positive, negative, what do you think? Again, for probably Republicans, it's a very dirty word, right? But now, you look Chinese, social welfare, 社会福利. We have many Chinese teachers here. Is positive, negative? 社会福利. Very, very positive. There is not a dirty word at all, very positive. Why is that? So if we use this just two words, we can really talk a lot about the political ideology in different countries. Why is the difference there? Right? Even though it's the same meaning semantically. So I can use this project in my study abroad program. I have students, I have a unit called China and the States, USA, and I give them several words, lexical items, and they had to go out to interview Chinese people. For example, I say China, 中国, what do they think of? 美国, the States, what do they think of? So they will give you the associate words. Freedom and law, something about that related to that. But before students go out to interview Chinese people, I ask them in the class in advance, write down their own association word. or give them English. China, what do you think of? A lot of them say red, Confucius, communism, you know. So we write down. So once they collect the data outside, they bring it back. So we put them side by side together. My students answer and the Chinese people answer. Then we discuss the difference or the similarity. This is how I design the activity. So for example, the past summer, I have students for that unit. I asked them to talk about American dream and Chinese dream. So yes, there are lots of similarities, success, money, but there's difference there. This is interesting about difference. The difference is a lot of Chinese people say social harmony.
Harmony.
Social harmony. Then when they bring to the class, then we decide why is that? Again, we really have to understand the different political contexts because China emphasizes a lot, you know, as a group, harmony is the most important thing right now for the country. So we see a lot of love here, right?
There's love, but here there's warmth and happiness.
We have happiness here. So see, the difference will be really interesting to discuss. Why in Chinese we didn't say this word love? It's not because we don't have love in our family. No. Why is it so? Huh? Mom and dad, right? So we can talk about this. You know, Chinese are more reserved. We just don't say this word. Okay, we express our feeling. In the States, love. You can even say I love ice cream. I mean, you cannot use that word for love ice cream, right? You cannot do that. Then you show the cultural value, very reserved. Yeah? Actually, several years ago in Taiwan, because we don't say this word or this phrase, I love you, to husband or wife or kids, we don't say it. So the school want to promote people to say this word. So they say Mother Days, call your mothers, and to say from school, say, Mother, I love you. So the kids call, say, Mother, I love you, and mother respond, what's wrong with you? And then happiness is another good way to say, because we have two words for happiness. One is 快乐, the other one is 幸福. 快乐, you can be happy once by yourself. Okay, you have a beer or with, you know, but 幸福 has to be with someone you really close. Family is a family member. You can use that only for this. So just lexical words reflect so much social meaning and cultural value. So we can use that for the beginning student. Greeting. So I think for me, for the first semester, I would like students to know how we greet people in different contexts. Okay? Because in textbook, only one greeting, which is you good, hello. You probably know that, 你好, right? Or a question form. Okay?
You good?
Yeah, you good, and question marker, and then how are you, and then you say thank you. But do we say that? Okay, the question, do we say that? In the textbook, always in 你好 and say that is a very common form of greeting, and it's not. And it can be used to address strangers upon first introduction or between old acquaintance. Only correct thing is, yes, you probably address stranger upon the first introduction, especially in formal situation. When you go to the hotel, they will say, Sir, 你好, right? Not between friends, okay? So I want to show you a movie here. They are classmates in your English class. So that's what they say. Okay, why are you saying 你好 to strangers? You're not Americans. Okay, so we need to tell students, because after we teach the lesson 1, 你好, students, when they see me, they say 你好. You should not say that. We have to tell them immediately, okay? Now, here's English one. So for textbook, all talk about birthday. They don't have a greeting. They just start with what day is today, okay? But then you look at the Chinese one. For this dialogue, I use for many different goals. But one of the goals to show them they start with this. So this is two college students made on campus. So A say the name, 玉芬, and say, your class is finished. Where are you going? That's how we greet people, right? For Americans, probably it's kind of very nosy. Why did you want to ask me where I'm going? But this is one way we show that we really concern you. We acknowledge that we see you, right? So this is one example. Then we're talking about give them there is input. We want them to come up with this conclusion. So I give them different examples. When you see a teacher, you will have to say, teacher, good day, right? When I see them, okay, I don't usually say ni hao. I probably say, where are you going? You're going to class, okay? And I really sometimes expect them to answer the question. It's not like in the English you say, how are you?
How are you?
You don't expect the answer. Okay, so that's difference. They can think about the difference too. Then when I met my colleagues, you're not, have you eaten? Did you eat? Okay, this is the neighbors. The couples meet his neighbors. See how they greet each other when they see each other. He doesn't say hello, he say yo. And then the husband say, you come back. See, you come back. Yeah, I'm back. You're back. And then they say, are you going out? Yes, we're going out. See, that's how we greet each other, right? So the very beginning, I will see already start to show them, guide them to see the contrast between textbook dialogue and natural conversation. And we talk about that when we do this, can we also actually have them discuss this in Chinese instead of everything in English? So this is one way I do it, to give them this form. And several things, they can see very obviously the difference between textbook dialogue and the natural conversation. So I will show you this class actually is in our website, and the students are discussing using that form. Here is all the handouts for that. So just very quickly, they are comparing textbook dialogue and the natural conversation.
这个课本的说话跟自然对话不一样所以我们来看看有什么不一样有什么不一样跟你的同学谈一谈，要用中文说哦，这个有重复，这个他们一起说。
重复。对。日常对话有句子。课本对话有的时候。
They use very simple words, not simple words, use the word from the form, but very simple sentence structure. Textbook has this. The textbook does not have this. It's a very simple sentence, but they can discuss this in Chinese about the differences. Then the next request and refusal, we don't have the material like German already, the conversation. So, but I did do some research. I can find some very sentence level response for request and refusal. So I use them to start this unit, start from the sentence level and go on to more whole conversation. So for example, I will start with this scenario. You have to ask your teacher some grammar part you don't understand. The first I ask students, what would you say in Chinese, right? So they will say, I don't understand this grammar, this lesson, please explain it. Then I will get data from native speakers. How do they respond to such a scenario? So this is what they say. Teacher, grammar of this lesson I don't understand. Can you please explain it a little bit? Okay? So between these two answers, I ask students, what's the difference? What's the difference? So teacher to address in Chinese is very important when you do a request. You have to address the teacher, right? And explain a little bit, 解释一下. We talk about this structure, but this is a place you use that. 解释一下. Do this a little bit for me. Why? Because we want to reduce the imposition of the request. Do this a little bit doesn't sound like too bad, right? And then the other thing is this point, you see that this is Chinese is a topic, comment, structure, very prominent. Okay? No, you can say this way too. Yeah. You can say this way too, but this is more prominent. Yeah. We mentioned that in class, with a topic sentence, but this is the context you can show students how we use it, because this is thing I'm asking the request. So another thing you cannot see here is that they use ning is honorific term of you, okay? More polite to say you, that we have to get students to use it. And you can see the student not using it. So student A have to ask their classmate to help him to review the math problem. So I ask students to do the conversation and record it. I also ask the native speakers to do a conversation based on this scenario. So here is their conversation. And then I ask students to compare these two dialogue. To request action that you see the desperate feeling that you use, I'm dying, I begged you, praise. The first to say, you're very good at math. You haven't, before doing any request, saying to praise her, make it less imposing, so just half an hour, not a whole day or something. And compensation, I will take you out for dinner. This is very special because I actually give native speaker 4 different scenarios. One, borrow bicycle, so like this one, help math, or substitute for work. Every conversation ends with, I will take you for dinner. Okay, and I think this is probably very Chinese cultural. I do a request, 我请你吃饭, 是吧? Yeah. So this is another thing we can show that the cultural differences there. And for refusal, we tend not to say no directly. We provide reasons because I have many tests, or soften the refusals. Maybe my roommate can help you, right? Or give assurance, don't worry about it, we will try to find someone to help you. This is material I got in study abroad. They stay with a host family. So they have assignment, a lot of assignments to talk to their host family. And one of the assignments is to talk about hometown, 老家. What do they think about hometown and how do they define it? And they interview the parents, kids, grandparents. So that's how I get the data. Now once I have the data, then I want them to look at the data, first listen to the data, the spoken answer, and see what kind of cultural values reflect in their answers. Okay, so the data here I use, also this is unit is also online in the mini class. So I give them 6 different people's response to these questions. And then, again, in the small group, I want them to see how the word choice, the register, formal, informal, and perspective of each speaker. Again, before they do this, they already know the content. They have to start the vocabulary. She doesn't start with hometown. She starts with Chinese race, 中华民族, very, very high. Yeah. So that's why I want the student to say that. And you also see different way to see hometown, this word. For this father, he will say something like, it's where our ancestors lived and we're buried. And my students have good discussion about this because in Western culture, you probably don't think hometown is your ancestors buried there. Okay, but for Chinese, that's how we define it. Another thing, grandma, I think is a very funny one.
Yes.
Her definition is very concrete property. I have a land, I have a factory, I have a house. Then you see the kids. Then you see the generational difference. The kids, not much attachment there. There's a place I have to go, because my parents want to go. A place I maybe miss the food when I'm in other country. Conclusion. So I think another way to do it, to look at language, is through more social linguistic perspective, right? To see how language use reflect cultural value and the social meaning. And it's important we use natural spoken language as much as we can. We use guided induction without end there. I think through this process, we can give students a chance to evaluate, synthesize, to think about this data and develop their critical thinking and analytical skill. Okay, so that's my talk. Thank you.